She says, "You changed." She says it like it's a tragedy, like something sacred was lost, like she's the victim of some emotional betrayal. "You've changed." She says it with wide eyes, maybe a broken voice, like you pulled away, like you shifted without warning. But here's what no one tells you. She needed you to change. She designed it. She planned for it. And you walked right into it, step by step, apology by apology, concession by concession. You didn't notice it at first. It started small. Her subtle critiques masked as concern. The way she asked, "Why do you say things like that?" The way she paused when you were fully yourself. The way she smiled, but didn't approve. And you adjusted because you wanted harmony. Because you thought love was about compromise. But here's what she knew. And you didn't. Every time you compromised yourself for peace, you were becoming less of the man she was once drawn to. Every time you softened your edge to protect her comfort, you weren't proving loyalty. You were proving that she could move you. And that's all she needed, because the game wasn't love. The game was power. You don't wake up one day and change. It's slow, calculated, engineered. She doesn't scream. She doesn't demand. She just suggests, corrects, raises an eyebrow. And you, wanting peace more than truth, start erasing yourself. A joke you used to make? Now you filter it. That edge in your voice? You smooth it out. Your independence? Muted. Because she said it made her feel unseen. And you tell yourself you're evolving. That's the dangerous part, because it feels like growth. But it's not. It's compliance, dressed up as maturity. You start checking in too much. You overthink your tone. You monitor your own masculinity like a security risk. And the entire time, she watches, not to stop you, but to measure how much of you she can redesign before you notice the blueprint in her hand. She builds you into someone softer, more agreeable, less certain, and she praises you for it. You're so patient. You've become so grounded. You've really grown. You take the praise. You hold the frame steady, not realizing it's not your frame anymore. It's hers. But here's the twist she won't say out loud. She's no longer attracted to what she created, because she wasn't in love with a version of you that fits her comfort. She was drawn to the man who made her adjust, the one she couldn't fully decode, the one who made her feel just a little off balance, the one who stood firm even when it made her uncomfortable. You gave her the reins, thinking it would make her stay. But all it did was show her she was riding something she could already control. And no woman wants to keep what she can manage. So when she says, "You changed," don't hear regret. Hear confirmation. The transformation wasn't accidental. It was a campaign. And she was the architect. Let's be honest now. She didn't drag you into this. You walked into it, willingly, because you wanted her. Not just her body, her mind, her time. You wanted her approval. And a man who needs approval will trade his instinct for acceptance every time. She didn't have to manipulate you. She just had to look disappointed. And that was enough for you to adjust. You started volunteering your power before she even asked. Cutting off your edge, softening your opinions, diluting your fire, just so she wouldn't feel threatened. You convinced yourself this was love, that this was emotional maturity, that the loud, sharp, unmoving parts of you were toxic, and that she was helping you grow. But you weren't growing. You were shrinking, not for love, for approval. Every time she sighed and you changed your plans, every time she questioned your tone and you rewrote the sentence, every time she said, "That made me uncomfortable," and you reshaped your truth to feel safer to her. You weren't being a good man. You were being a man in training to be controlled. And here's the part that stings. She didn't stop you. She watched. She observed. She learned your emotional machinery better than you did. And when she knew which buttons made you bend, she stopped asking. She just expected. You didn't notice, because you thought you were being attuned. You called it connection. But connection that requires erasing who you are isn't love. It's submission. And the truth? You were never her partner. You were her project. And like all projects, once it's finished, it's no longer interesting. You used to lead in energy, in conversation, in direction. She used to follow, not out of weakness, but out of respect. Because leadership, real leadership, is felt, not forced. But somewhere along the way, you stopped leading. And she didn't tell you to stop. She just took the wheel, bit by bit, decision by decision, correction by correction. She didn't need to fight for it. You handed it over because you thought love meant letting her choose. But she never wanted the choice. She wanted the man who could choose, not because she's incapable, but because polarity doesn't lie. And when a woman feels the man beside her can't hold direction, she either tries to lead or loses attraction altogether. You didn't just lose her, you lost her faith in you, not because you were cruel, but because you were bendable. You thought being nice meant being less intense, less certain, less you. You thought being safe meant being agreeable, passive, ever available. But safety without strength becomes softness without spine, and softness without spine becomes dead weight. She stopped testing you because she already had the answers. And once the answers become obvious, the tension dies, and tension is the oxygen of desire. She says, "You've changed," because now she misses the very energy she slowly asked you to kill. She wanted your power, but she wanted to feel it, not own it, and you gave it away. So now, when she looks at you, she doesn't see a man. She sees a man-shaped shadow, desperate to be enough, not through strength, but through surrender. And now, she calls it sad. But you're just starting to realize you trained her to forget who you were. You remember the moment it snapped, not with shouting, not with tears, just stillness. The kind of silence that doesn't ask for space. It becomes space. She said, "You're not the same." And for the first time, you didn't flinch. You didn't try to convince her otherwise, didn't offer soft explanations, didn't rewind your past to prove your heart was pure. Because you finally understood you were never meant to stay the man she could predict. You were meant to become the man she couldn't control. She says you changed like it's a crime. But all you did was reclaim territory she had quietly overtaken. No more texts with emojis to soften your stance. No more, "I just want to make sure you're okay." No more bending truths to avoid her disapproval. You stopped performing. And what's terrifying isn't that you became distant. It's that you became clear. She can't seduce clarity, can't gaslight direction, can't manipulate structure, because structure doesn't respond to mood. It just is. And now, for the first time in your connection, she sees you, not as a mirror, not as a project, but as a frame she no longer fits. You didn't change into someone colder. You evolved into someone anchored. And now, she feels it. That heavy silence that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain. That kind of silence that says, "I'm not waiting for you to catch up. I'm already gone." Not physically, energetically, emotionally, spiritually. And the scariest part for her? You're not doing it to hurt her. You're doing it to finally stop hurting yourself. You don't raise your voice. You don't explain your evolution. You don't defend the man you've become. You embody him. That's the shift. She used to interpret your calm as insecurity. Now it feels like gravity. She used to push and you'd shift. Now you just stand, unapologetic, unmoved, because power doesn't announce itself. It remains. She circles you now, emotionally, energetically, trying to find an entry point, the way she used to, the way that worked before you woke up to the pattern. But this time, there's no opening. Not because you've built a wall, because you've restored your center. You don't give her the same access, not to punish, but because you understand that not everyone who enters your world deserves influence. You've learned energy is currency, and she spent too much of yours. Now, your presence isn't a gift for the familiar. It's a privilege for the worthy. She might say, "You're distant. You've become cold. You're not the man I loved." But the truth is, she never loved you. She loved her influence over you. She loved that she could mold your responses. She loved that she could tilt your mood. She loved the echo, not the man. And now? Now she's standing in front of something she can't mold. And she calls that arrogance. She calls it ego. She calls it, "You changed." But here's the truth. You didn't change. You just stopped auditioning. And the silence she hears now? That's not rejection. That's reconstruction. She wants closure now. Not because she's confused, but because she knows. She knows you're not coming back. Not the old you. Not the predictable one. Not the soft version that bent with every gust of her emotion. She doesn't ask directly. She tests the waters. "Do you ever think about us? I miss who you were." She's not reaching for love. She's reaching for leverage. But this time, your calm is different. It's not silence that waits to be broken. It's silence that says, "I've moved past the version of myself that needed to be understood." So you answer, if you answer at all, without performance. You don't apologize for changing. You don't soften your stance to soothe her perception. You just tell the truth. Simple, quiet, heavy. You didn't lose me. You watched me leave, one compromise at a time. And when I was finally gone, you called it change. That's it. No raised voice, no bitterness, just clarity. Because when a man truly returns to himself, he doesn't burn bridges. He disappears from maps he was never supposed to be part of. And her reaction? Doesn't matter. She can cry, she can rage, she can reminisce, but she can't reach you because the door didn't close. The foundation moved, and now nothing in her hands fits the lock. Not kindness, not sex, not guilt, not memories. Because you finally realized it wasn't her presence that made you feel whole. It was the parts of you that you gave away to keep her. And now, you've taken them back. Final strike. There's nothing left to explain. She doesn't need answers. She just wanted access. But the version of you she once shaped, softened, and used as a mirror, that man's gone. Not bitter, not broken, balanced. You don't leave with anger. You don't ghost. You don't warn. You just remove yourself from the story, like a chapter that outgrew its own author. She'll talk. She'll say, "You used to care. You were different before. You lost your heart." But none of it lands, because you finally learned. When a man forgets who he is, the world will gladly rewrite him. And she tried, with softness, with silence, with smiles that asked you to shrink just enough to feel safe around her. And you did. Until the silence started to rot. Until your voice started to sound like someone else's. Until you looked in the mirror and saw an edited man. So no, you didn't change. You recovered. You remembered what it means to be unshakable, to be kind without collapsing, to be present without performing. And now, she says, you act like I never mattered. You pause, and without flinching, you answer, you mattered, just not more than me. Then you walk, without a closing door, without one last look, without a wound, only weight, only truth, only silence that finally belongs to you.